Kuzi becomes an official member of the student council, and Kenzaki asks him to work with Masha from now on. He assumes that he will adapt right away thanks to his previous experience, but he wants him to work with the others as he learns how everything works, since they're low on staff. Yuki interrupts the conversation to let him know that she will go to the art club to discuss the exhibition, and since they'll be discussing the budget, she'd like the treasurer Alisa to come with her. The girl accepts with no issues, so they both walk out of the classroom. However, Alisa thinks that she should bring the topic first, since Kuzi has decided to support her. She asks Yuki if she has a minute to talk, and they walk into an empty classroom to do so. There, Alisa tells her that she has decided to run for student council president with Kuze, though Yuki already knew this, since he informed her about it last night. Alisa then explains that she's not planning to apologize, because she didn't do anything wrong, but she still wanted to tell her in person. Yuki accepts that easily, understanding that Kuzi made that choice on his own, so she has no complaints about that. She doesn't want to vent her frustration to her, even though it is a shame that he didn't choose her. In that moment, Alisa wants to ask her something, but she hesitates and decides to keep it to herself. Knowing very well what she wanted to ask, Yuki bluntly tells her that she indeed loves Kuzi more than anyone in the world. Alisa is shocked to hear that sudden confession, and Yuki clarifies that she's serious, and she loves Kuzi even more than her parents. That's when she decides to ask her about her feelings for him, but Alisa gets nervous and just says that Kuzi is a really important friend to her. Yuki insists even more, and she directly asks her if she likes him, if she's in love with him. After all, she has made it clear that she loves him, so she should be honest as well. Being cornered, Alisa answers that even if she doesn't know if she likes him or not, she will never let her have Kuzi. After hearing this, Yuki smirks and backs away, saying that hearing her say that is enough for her. She exits the classroom to go to the art club as planned, but just before that, Yuki asks her if she can call her Alya, saying that she can call her Yuki in return. Alisa accepts without giving it much thought, and once she's alone, she feels like she just blurted out something outrageous. Going back to Kuzi, he realizes how incredibly efficient Masha is while she works, though he can't say the same about Chisaki, since she's so clumsy. Kenzaki cleverly tricks her into going to the library to help with the change of a collection of books, and he apologizes to Kuze for what he just witnessed. He clarifies that Chisaki is always like that, and even if it may not seem like it, she's the best at coordinating between committees and clubs. Kuzi understands that, knowing that everyone has weaknesses and strengths in everything. Masha suggests taking a break, and as she prepares some tea, she tells him about her family, saying that they used to drink tea all year when they lived in Russia. He knows that her mother is Japanese, and he accepts to drink tea with jam as they usually do in her country. Masha asks him if he knows a lot about Russia, and Kuze tells her that he doesn't know a lot, but he used to watch a lot of movies with his grandpa. Though, deep down, he knows that that was just the start, since he actually studied hard just so he could talk to that girl from his childhood. After having some of Masha's exquisite tea, Kuze can't help remembering that his mother also loved to drink good tea. Just after that, Yuki enters the classroom with a smile, all the opposite to Alisa, who enters right after her with a glare. She immediately goes to sit right next to Kuz, who's a little taken aback by her closeness. Alisa explains that in Russia, it's bad luck for a young woman to sit in the corner. Just then, Kuzi notices that there's some tension between Alisa and Yuki, and they apparently had some kind of conflict. Trying to make the mood lighter, Kuzi asks Masha about what Alisa said, and the girl answers that it's true. But to be exact, it is said that sitting in the corner could delay a woman's prospects for marriage. Masha approaches her sister, asking her if she has met someone she wants to marry. Alisa denies this, clarifying that it's just a whim, though in Russian, she says that it's too early for marriage. Kuzi agrees with that, since she's only 15 years old, but the way she puts it bothers him. After the meeting ends, Kenzaki informs that the sophomores have something to discuss with the teacher, so the freshmen can go home. Kuzi walks Alisa home, knowing that his sister probably said something she shouldn't. As they walk, Kuze asks her if they can stop by for a while, since they should discuss various issues about her presidency. She accepts without much energy, complaining in Russian about it not being a date, something she was looking forward for. Once they're settled, he's a little shocked about the huge amount of sugar she ordered, but he avoids making any comment about it. She explains that she's just tired, so she needs sugar to keep her brain running. Kuzi accepts her reasons, changing the topic so he can finally ask her if anything happened between her and Yuki. Alisa harshly denies it, so Kuzi curses internally at whatever his sister did to her. Alisa suddenly asks him if he's dating Yuki, and he immediately tells her he's not. He takes the chance to clear things up, saying that Yuki is not as ladylike as she looks, and she's definitely just teasing her, having fun with her reactions. Leaving that aside, he moves on to the election talk, saying that they stand zero chance of beating Yuki as things stand. There's no beating around the bush, since that's how big a frontrunner Yuki is. Normally, there would be 3 aspiring candidates in the student council at this time. In fact, at the start of middle school, their council had 6 pairs, including him and Yuki, meaning 12 aspirants in total. That said, half of them dropped out at the student congress right before the election. Seeing that Alya doesn't understand, he explains that the student congress is something of a debate contest held between students. For example, if the dispute between the baseball and soccer team hadn't reached a compromise, they would have had to debate each other at the student congress to decide who won. Alya understands that that's what the events she saw happening in the auditorium were. Kuzi explains that when the congress features presidential candidates, it essentially becomes a preview of the election. Once they debate on policy and one side beats out the other, it establishes a clear pecking order in the eyes of most students. Traditionally, the candidates fight each other until the field gets whittled down to 3 pairs or so. Of course, not every candidate joins the student council, but the lack of numbers this year is clearly abnormal, since everyone's given up on beating Yuki. As he continues talking about it, Alya internally complains, annoyed at the fact he doesn't even think anything of coming to a restaurant with a girl. She suddenly starts devouring her parfait, and Kuze is taken aback, asking her if she's even listening to him. Alya tells him she's indeed listening, but she was momentarily distracted by how good her parfait is. He kinds of understands, but Alya internally complains, since she's only acting up because of the way he's acting. Just then, she has a great idea, since if he's not going to get in the mood, she's going to get him in the mood herself. Alya suddenly asks him if he wants a bite, and Kuzi politely declines, but she tempts him, bringing the spoon to his mouth. He says he can ask for another spoon, but Alya tells him he can't call the staff over just for that. Plus, it would add to their washing load as well. She insists, saying that it's perfectly commonplace in Russia, though her flustered expression gives away her lie. Kuze sees right through her, but he has no other choice than to comply, accepting the bite of parfait. He internally freaks out at the indirect kiss, but they manage to keep their cool as they're in public. Once they calm down, Alya asks him how they'll beat Yuki, and Kuzi clarifies that facing her head-on is not going to help. They need to run a campaign that appeals to students from a different angle. He uses Kenzaki as an example, telling her that one of the candidates in last year's election was a former middle school president, and yet it was Kenzaki who came out on top. He wasn't on the council in middle school, but he still won, thanks to an elaborate strategy. The newspaper club profiled him because they were amused by him running. They probably wanted to make fun of him at the start, but as the coverage went on, his appearance changed, and his grades went up. People were watching a success story unfold in real time. They started rooting for him, and that wave of support carried him all the way to victory. After hearing that story, Alya understands that they need a backstory to rally support, to show all the students how hard she's working and everything. Kuzi isn't surprised by how quick she is to catch on, but he internally wonders what she'll do with the spoon he just used. She's thinking the same thing, but Kuzi decides to do something about it, and he orders some food for himself, taking the chance to ask for an extra spoon. Alya tells him that he didn't really have to do that, amused at how flustered he just got over something so small. She teases him, saying that he's a bigger baby than she thought, even though she figured he would be used to female company. Meanwhile, Kuzi admits that he's shocked by how casual she was about it, and he asks her if Russia is rife with indirect kisses or something. Alya pouts, saying in Russian that he's the only one she would do that with, and Kuze internally thanks her, still not used to hearing things like that while having to pretend he didn't understand. Going back to the main topic, Alya asks him how to build support like Kenzaki did. Kuzi says that she would have to show everyone just how hard she's willing to work. Their first chance is the first term's closing ceremony, which is essentially the first policy speech made to the whole student body. She asks what she should say, and Kuzi tells her that she can say whatever she likes, since the audience is more likely to be receptive if she speaks her mind. He tells her that it's best if she doesn't fake anything. After all, she's a perfectly captivating human being as she is. Alya is surprised by the sudden compliment, but she pretends it didn't affect her, even though she's blushing. She starts speaking Russian again, asking him to elaborate on that, and demanding even more compliments. Kuzi has to pretend he didn't get what she says, so he instead focuses on the food, commenting he thought they'd play it safer since they're a casual dinner, but it's actually really good. Alya seems curious about it, so he offers him a bite without thinking, realizing just then that she can't handle that level of spiciness. She internally knows she can't handle it, but if she backs out, he'll realize she's not a fan of spicy food. She pushes herself to do it, saying that she'll just take a bite, but to her luck, the spoon catches a whole chili. Kuze hesitates, and in his head his sister is motivating him to let her have it, since seeing Alya teary-eyed is such a turn-on. On the other side, a little Masha appears as an angel, trying to stop him, but the little Yuki beats her up, so Kuzi makes a decision. He offers her the food, so Elisa forcefully takes a bite, immediately freaking out by how spicy it is. As they walk back home, Kuzi is kind of worried about her, but she pretends to be completely fine. She asks him what Yuki will do, since he's now running with her, but Kuze assures that Yuki is popular enough, so that's probably not an issue. Though, they're in trouble if she brings out the likes of Taniyama Sayaka, the girl that took Yuki to the wire in the election they won. He internally wonders if she ever gave up on becoming president, but he doesn't say anything about it. The next day, at the student council office, Yuki introduces them all to Ayano Kimishima, from Class 1C, who will be joining the student council and handling affairs. Kuzi is taken by surprise at first, but he just glares at Ayano and his sister without saying a word. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, then subscribe to support the channel, comment the word spoon to prove that you stayed till the end, since not a lot of people do.